it's me. It's the one, the only Paul Friends, welcoming you to Starfleet Universe on Call. And tonight, well, you got me, you got Barry. Dave is around. He's doing the reload dance at the moment to try to get to listen to my melodious voice. And also, I'm currently streaming over at Twitch. Hi. So you can watch me there and also interact with me. I will be in the chat room and be happy to talk to you there also. So, and hi, Barry.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I'm trying to get the Iridani. Yeah. Okay. I've got all my PDFs open and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I grabbed your PDFs and I'm looking at the one and gonna be interesting. Oh, before we start, real quick, just a reminder, because I forgot to put this in the news portion for those people listening to the podcast. We will not be doing a show next week because next week is Thanksgiving. So no show for next week. So
right.
Enjoy all the turkey or whatever you do, whatever you eat on Thanksgiving, but hopefully you will enjoy your time with your families. So with that, we will move on to the Iridani.
Well, I never created a ship for it, and the list of Ken Burnside ships that I was given did not. He never made one either, so I didn't have a model for it. But I'm looking at the 03 SSD book, and I guess the closest one for a tournament cruiser would be the Galleon, I'm guessing.
Let me check. Which one did I choose? I chose the Clipper, but it's possible the Galleon might be a better one. The only reason I chose the Clipper is mainly because of one thing that I totally forgot about the Iridani is they have modules.
Yes, they do.
And I totally forgot about that. And the Clipper is one of the few that actually shows you what kind of modules there are.
Yeah, so is the Galleon.
The Galleon does too? There's a tugboat, there's a sloop, man of war, Baroque, Brigantine, Yawl, Galleon.
Oh, I guess we could. Yeah, I guess we could use the Clipper. Yeah, the Clipper might work.
Yeah, I think here's the only reason I think the Clipper might be a better idea for a tournament cruiser. I understand, Lord knows, that it's already considered a 142 BPV ship, which is a little higher than most. But I'm looking at these freaking firing arcs. Have you looked at the
firing arcs? Tell me
arcs
about it.
For this ship.
Yeah, actually, you're right. The Clipper might be a better one to go with. And then you probably want to put a weapons module in it.
Oh, yes. Oh, definitively. That will give it additional 2 360 wide phasers and one phaser wide phaser 1,
Right.
So
yeah, the Galleon actually has 2 modules, but less weapons. So, but I think you can go either way. Yeah, you're right. The firing arcs are just bizarre.
Oh, agreed. Because for those who are not watching the video, so they won't see this, and that is that Okay, you got the Febs. Now two of the Febs are left arc and right arc. So they can't hit directly forward or directly backwards.
Nope.
Not even most of the FA arc. But then we have two Febs. One is a left front left and a right front, another one which is right front right. So, to say the very least, if you want to hit somebody, you have to approach them on the oblique. At best. If you even go past the oblique, you're still in gold.
Right.
Because these crazy arcs.
Mm-hmm. Even your target illuminators have L and R.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We're gonna get into talking about that, which makes things quite interesting. Interesting in my mind that displacement device makes things interesting. Though obviously displacement device can move a ship. This
the target illuminator is not as powerful as you would think it is now.
Yes. Oh, agreed. It's definitely something that's better at longer ranges, I think, because of.
What?
Okay, let's go for it. Let's explain what a target illuminator does.
You basically put 1 point of power into it, and it can be reserved or it can be allocated, and it cannot be held. And then you, during one impulse during the turn, you pick a target, and all your weapons fired at that target, that impulse, have -1 on their die roll.
Right, and that's both the Febs. And also the phasers.
The phasers.
Right, both of them. Which is the first thing was like a shocker to me.
Right, but think about it. The focused energy beam, first of all, it's a 2 die roll.
Right.
So it's less important.
Mm-hmm.
And the phaser Ws are much less sensitive to the die roll than regular phasers.
Right. Agreed.
So that's why I say, yes, it does help, but it's not as, it would be much more effective on a ship armed with, say, photons or something else.
Oh, agreed. Okay, and here's the worst thing about the target illuminator. It's when it is activated. That's the worst thing. Because, according to the rules, it is activated in any impulse just after the SFG step of the seeking weapons stage of impulse activity. Now, given that means way before you even decide to fire your weapons, you've basically just announced to everyone concerned, I'm firing weapons. Because...
Yes and no.
Well, okay, yeah, yes and no, but here's the thing. You only can use it once a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to using only once a turn, it only lasts for one impulse.
Right.
So... You can fire it and kind of use a kind of fake out maneuver. That's the word I'm using. I'm looking for faking them out.
Right.
Hi Dave. Yeah. He's over on Twitch.
Well, now here's the thing. You have 2 of them, and if we use the yawl or the galleon instead, you have 3 of them. That means you could use it as a fake and not fire it, and fire another TI the next impulse.
True, and in theory, you have two TIs, so you can actually fire both of them in a single turn, because they're both of them are left and are left-right arc.
Because unless you want to do a hack and slash, in which case you probably, you could fire your weapons, do a high energy turn to bring more in arc, and then fire again, and then you need both TIs, so you'd have to be in. Well,
yeah, but definitely
use it for
the two TRs could definitely work with a hack and slash. Obviously, you have to be careful about that, because you only can fire a TI just like any other weapon within a quarter turn of each other.
Right.
So
you
couldn't use both TIs at the end of the turn.
Right.
The last 8 impulses.
Yeah. Well, you could use it. You could fire one, and then the following impulse fire another. But then you have to wait till end of turn and 8 impulses from the first one before you can fire again.
Right.
Yeah. And as I said, it helps, but it's not required.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, here's the thing. I don't think we'd ever want to do this, but obviously we have to play it out just to find out how it works, and how well the Clipper does with the weapons module. Because one thing,
or the Galleon with 2 weapons modules.
Yeah. Let me go back to the Galleon. There it is. Okay, give me that. Whoops. There. Let me just do a quick look-see at this ship. Because we have 3 TIs. It's worth less, probably because of it's got less hull.
Right. It also has 2 less phasers.
Right.
Oh no, it doesn't. It's got but it's got instead of the 360s, it's got 1 LR and 1 RR phaser.
Yeah. That actually would be interesting. Because hold it.
And it has a second module.
What's the difference between that and the Clipper?
Well,
power.
The Clipper has better phaser arcs on 2 of the phasers, and it has an extra module.
Yeah, it's got 32.
And the Clipper also has
32
the shuttle bays are split, whereas the Galleon, the shuttle bays are split,
right?
Whereas in the Clipper they're not.
Okay, 32, 36, 40. So the Clipper has 40 points of power.
Mm-hmm. Plus what's in the weapons module.
Right, which is an additional 2, so that'd be 42 points of power would be the Clipper.
Yeah.
Versus the Galleon.
I think you're at 44.
That'd be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, 10 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 26 warp for the Galleon. 30.
Make it 30 because we always normalize.
Understood, but okay, let's just start with what's here. 26, 30, 34. Say you got 2 weapons modules, that'd be a total of 38. So to start off with, it'll only have 38, and if we want to boost it up by 2, so it has 40, right?
Well, for doing tournament cruisers, for every one of these, remember that Omegas are always have less warp than Alphas. So I always gave them 30 warp for the movement cost 1 chips.
Mm-hmm.
Basically tournament standard. So, let's see. The Clipper would have. No, they actually, with the weapons module, the Clipper actually, the Galleon has 2 more power.
No.
So the Clip with one.
Right.
There's 40 power on the Clipper, and 42 on the Galleon.
No, there isn't. Without the modules.
Well, I'm talking with the modules.
With the modules.
With the 2 weapons.
The Clipper has 42.
42?
Mm-hmm. Because you got 8, you got 16, and 16. So you start with 32 warp to begin with.
It only has 1 module.
Right.
30 warp.
No, 32 warp.
4 impulse, 4 upper.
Clipper? No. Barry?
Oh, I would drop it down to 30 warp.
Yeah, but
oh.
I said we're starting with what we would normally do.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It starts with 32, then it goes.
Oh, okay. So 32.
So it starts with fast warp.
Well, in that case, yes. That's a fast ship. I did not realize that. Okay.
That's what it's designed for.
Huh.
Would be my guess.
Well, in that case, yeah, 32, 40 power total. Interesting. Okay. So maybe the Clipper might be the one to go for.
Yeah, because we were going to raise it from 28 up to 30, and this one's already has 32, so leave it at 32. Because why bring it down?
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
Why would you cut the Saltorian?
Yes. I agree. I just didn't realize it had that much warp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, 40 power with weapons module.
42 with weapons module.
And it's got decent phaser arcs for the well, it's got the 2 360s.
Yeah. Barry, it's 42 with the weapons module.
So
the Clipper does. 32 plus 4 impulse plus 4 APR.
Oh, yes, 42 with the weapons module. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, you're right.
So it's got a decent amount of power.
Now the FE, yes, it does. Yes, it does. The FEBs are kind of like disruptors in that they cannot be held.
Right.
But it could be allocated to reserve power.
Right.
They cannot be overloaded.
Right.
And they take 3 points of power.
Right. Now, there's one thing that I saw, which
here's the bizarre thing.
Yep. And you're going to hit it.
Is the phaser caps. They can use the phaser caps.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to mention.
But to tell you
now,
the truth, that's almost. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. I know where you're going to go for it, which is you don't want to tap those phaser caps because of the phaser capacitors aren't actually made larger because of the FEBs.
Right.
So that it's going to require 3 points from your phaser capacitor to fire one of these. So that means there's 3 phasers you can't fire.
Right. Which unless you recharge them from some other source.
Batteries. But of course, which at
that point it's moot. Why would you?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Why would you even do that?
Right. Why would you actually?
So they put that in there, and it's like, oh, that's a meaningless rule.
That's weird. Well, I guess what you might want to do, what comes to that, is in case of emergencies, where,
Yeah.
well, listen, that is that you fired your phasers. They haven't cycled around, but you have a Feb available to fire. So instead of waiting for your phasers to cycle, when you're in position, you're like range 2. You use that 3 points of power that's in your capacitor to fire your Feb at that point.
Yeah.
So I understand that normally you wouldn't use it, but in that case where there's that opportunity occurs, you would then use it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Actually, the funny part is that all I was going to say was that.
Go ahead.
When it comes to the damage chart, it reminded me more of fusions than disruptors. Obviously, charging wise, it's more like disruptors.
Right.
Because unlike
yeah, I guess
it's I think it's because of its even though it's using 2d6, so it's not as wildly crazy that can occur with a fusion beam. But and of course the big thing here is that the ranges of course are different than a fusion beam too. But the reason why it even reminded me of fusion beam was just because
it is a little longer range than a
right. But the big thing was that it was variable based on a die roll instead of a to hit like a disruptor is.
Yeah. Right. Now the other thing about the focused energy beam is that it has a delay between firings of 16 impulses, which makes it more like a fusion beam than other weapons.
Did not realize that. That's something I must have missed.
16 impulse delay.
Yeah, half a turn. Dang.
Yeah. So you're right to compare it to a fusion beam.
Yep. Though fortunately, unlike a fusion beam, you can fire it every turn. So it's not like a fusion beam in that you have to wait for a 1-turn cooldown, which is a good thing.
Right, and this kind of splits the difference.
Yeah, because
it's a 16 impulse delay.
Yeah, you have 4 Febs, 4 of them. And
hydrants have 4 fusions, and the Hydrant Tournament Cruiser has 4 fusions and 2 Hellboars.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's got more weapons than this thing.
Yeah.
See that's
and the fusions on the Hydrant are LFL and RFR. So
Yep. Yeah, because here's the one thing that I was contemplating. But obviously, first if we want to add this to the tournament, we'd have to test this out. We have to make sure that how bad is this?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But here's the one thing because I think you might be knowing where I'm going. Depending upon how it goes, there is the possibility, as crazy as it might sound, to turn it into like a hydrant. In that, instead of a weapons module, it takes the carrier module.
Oh, a carrier module.
Yep. That's one way of increasing.
I don't think you'd want to put.
Well,
I don't think you'd want to
not a
put
full,
6
not a
fighters.
full
What
half.
are the?
Yeah, not a full half squadron. I'm not saying you give them all the fighters.
Yeah,
Just like Hydras don't
right,
get their
right.
full fighters, full complement. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that so based off the Lord Marshal, the tournament cruiser, and I'm pretty sure that it takes more than just 2 fighters for Lord Marshal.
Yes, yeah, it does. Not as many as the Ranger, but more than the.
Now, obviously, what is it?
Yeah, Dragoon, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the Dracoon, the one that's pure fusions, because the one that's pure fusions, yeah, that has the full complement of fighters.
That's the Ranger. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ranger. Yeah, that's it. That has like
Yeah.
Half a squadron. And I'm not saying that we should give this one half a squadron, but again,
well, I'm looking. Hang on. Let's see. Where are the
fighters?
Hang on. Yeah, I'm looking for that. Fighter Annex 380 411. 411.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Rotate right. Iridani. Oh, that's fast patrol. Okay. Rotate left.
Yeah, I don't see any of the fighters.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I know there was a description in the Omega Master Rulebook, but I didn't really look into it because it wasn't until
Okay, Iridani Questers shuttles. Oh my God, there's a crap load of them. You've got an S1, an S1A, an S2, an S2A, an S2B, an S2E, an S3, an S3E.
Oh, come on. Well, there's a good collection of fighters for any empire.
I would give it the SFA.
Mm-hmm. Oh, where did you find the fighters?
Page 418 on the PDF.
You mean the rulebook?
Yes, the Omega Master Rulebook.
Mm-hmm. $418, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 418. Here it is. Okay, Warbs, Singers, Rin. Oops. No, it's not 418 for me. There it is. Okay, it's on 417 for me. Okay, you choose an S3. Is that what you're saying? Which is one wide phaser.
The SFA is SFA. Two wide phasers and an FEB.
Yeah. That'd be good. That's about.
Yeah. It's less than a Sting too.
Oh yeah. Oh, agreed. Especially it doesn't have that Gatling. Yeah.
Well, it's got half the phasers and half the heavy weapons.
Right. And speed is 14.
And
Yeah.
a little tougher. It's a little. It's a little
damage
slower.
takes 12.
But it's got half. What's that?
Takes
but
12 points.
It dishes out about half the damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many charges or how often it can fire the FEB. I'm guessing it only has one charge.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that because it probably have to. My guess.
You might want to give it the full 6 fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe not all 6. Maybe 4 of them.
Yeah, see that's the great thing about fighters, that if we decide that the normal weapons module doesn't work, one thing we can do is put the fighter module in, add fighters, and then tweak them. Let's start with 3 or start with 4.
Yeah.
Is that too much? Tweak it back.
Right.
See, that's one thing I've always.
Yeah. No, obviously we'd have to pull the tractor. We'd have to pull the tractors out of the carrier module.
Why?
2 tractors for tournament cruisers. If you left,
I don't.
If you left them in there, it would have 4 tractors.
Yeah, so I don't see that as a big deal. I really don't.
Oh.
How often do you actually have a problem with running out of tractors? I mean, really, how often do you?
Well, it certainly helps when you're facing drones.
Correct, but again, as we've had this discussion before, which is how many seeking weapon races are there in Mega that can put out a bunch of missiles? I mean, a ton of them.
That's true. Yeah. Well, the Quixer that you were talking about could do a lot.
That is true. But again, it's one of those.
Yeah, Mazarons are pretty. Yeah.
They're few and far between.
So the FEB is I'm looking at the FEB and going, that's a weapon. It's not anything great to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
The phaser W's are meh. They're not even as good as an alpha phaser. So I'm not seeing this as a very powerful ship.
Which is one of the reasons to think about change it to be a carrier.
Giving it fighters.
Yes,
I agree.
Which would definitely, would make things quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about full carrier here with a whole 12.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, we're not talking about full carrier with a full 12 fighter squadron here. We're talking more about the level of a Hydran. He's got a couple of fighters, and those fighters can be nasty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And possibly
now, one other thing to keep in mind is look at the breakdown rating.
Yeah, that's just barely, and just ever so slightly better than auxiliary battle cruiser, a Win auxiliary battle cruiser.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
And in that it also has the head bonus.
Right.
So, but the first head is still roll a die. It's not an automatic. And with turn mode D, it's...
Yeah, that means... Yeah. So that means that you've got a 2/3 chance of succeeding. It's not one of those things that you do lightly. Of course, at the same time, I've seen people like Mr. Bakia do 2 hits where I don't think he really needed to do the second hit, but he did it anyway. He felt like he needed to, but he succeeded, so it didn't matter. The only would have mattered is if he would have rolled that 1/3, rolled the 5 or the 6, and it would just puke right there, and then I'd win.
Yeah.
I still disagree with him doing that.
On your first hit, you're what's that?
I still disagree that he did that. To me, that was taking a chance that he really didn't need to do. But hey, it turned out for him. So, well, what is it? Geez. There is a baseball manager that, depending upon the day, I'm either an idiot or I'm a genius. You can do the same thing. It all depends on how it turns out. If it turns out, then you're a genius. If it doesn't turn out, then you're an idiot. You could be done exactly the same thing. It's just the result.
Yeah. Yeah. So this ship, I don't know. The fighters might make it viable.
Right. Exactly. Because the big issue that the Clipper has is range. Really. Because let's back up here. Just back up just for a moment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, if you stay at range and you are a good Iridani, and in that you try to keep your opponent on the left or on the right, which is, again, it's a strange situation to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can keep you can have a down front shield and it wouldn't matter. Down shield number 1, it wouldn't really matter that much.
Right.
Because that's not what you're firing out of. But anyhow.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's say each turn, not each turn, because 9 points of power is a lot of power, which is another reason why you want the Clipper. So it has the 42 points of power. If you get into, let's say range 4.
Well, 40 with the carrier module.
Yeah, but that's
40 with the carrier module.
Oh, understood. But let's not go with carrier first. Let's say we're going to go with the weapons, the normal weapons module to start off with. Okay, because
42.
Because we first have to determine that truly it can't win, or it's too degraded, too weak to fly using the weapons module. And in that case, you've got what?
Yeah.
You'll probably have like 5 phaser 1s that you can fire and 3 Febs each turn. That's about what you'll see. You can get some more in there, but when you move around, but to get on a single shield, that's going to be that. It's going to be the 5 phaser 1s and the 3 Febs. So for one battle pass, you can hit a shield for that. Now, given that, wow. At range 4, you've got around a 5. I'd be willing to give it maybe 6. Average of 6 points. And it's always hard to tell exactly what the average is for a 2d6. But I'm going to give it. The 7 to 9 range.
But remember that you also have the TI.
Right.
That
okay.
helps.
Okay, so let's boost it up to this. Let me look. Okay, let's boost it up to 7. We'll say 7. 7 points per. If we can get average of 7 points per, that's 21 points of damage at range 4. That's if you get into range 4, because you're not gonna be fighting at long range.
Right.
Now, this is
and that's for 9 points of energy.
Right. Now, the number one thing here is, of course, is that
which is not bad.
Right. Oh, agreed. Now, here's the one thing, which is it has no seeking weapons. It has nothing. Now, this is without the fighters. It has nothing to distract your opponent.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a Seltorian. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's got a good punch, or an average punch, but it has nothing to distract the other ship. So there's no missiles, no nothing like that.
Right.
So I say that because that makes it harder to get into position. Because the great thing about having a seeking weapon is that you can force your opponent to change directions, to move, possibly even have it so that you can chase him. So, when you're on this ship, your opponent.
Well, here's another thing.
Your opponent's not gonna turn away from you. He's gonna head right in. You're gonna be the person gonna be turning away, especially if they have seeking weapons. Well, continue.
What about if you used the galleon instead of the clipper, and gave it one weapons module, one carrier module?
Understood. Let me look at that one. Okay, so let's give it the 40. Let's give it the 40. And the weapons module.
Yeah.
Okay, that gives you 4 phaser ones to fire. So it's left. The only thing obviously the fighter.
Got 7 total P1s. 2 P3s. And then, or actually 3 P3s, because the carrier module has one.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 fighters. That might be a way to go.
That definitely would be interesting. But again, we have to test it without the fighters, because I think the fighters that bring an interesting aspect to it, but at the same time, I don't think I'd have to double check the history of Iridani, but I don't think the Iridani are as well known for their fighters. Hydrans, that is the way they fought.
Right.
That was an integrated part of the Empire. Part of their ship design. So, in my mind, the reason to use fighters at all is because of without the fighters, it's too weak. And of course, as again, that's one thing that would have to be tested out. We'd have to test it out, make sure that without the fighters, it's just too weak. And obviously, here's the one thing that I would never try to do with this ship. I wouldn't try to add extra weapons, because the problem is the weapons that it has, the Febs, are just they're too power hungry.
Well, but here's the thing. Adding more Febs is not a bad idea because of the firing arcs of them. You can't use them all anyway.
True.
So, and with the 16 impulse delay, it's like, oh, okay, I'll use the ones on the right side of the ship, and then the next turn I'll use the ones on the left side of the ship, except that your turn mode
at the same time, currently, of the four, you can, in whether you're left or you're right, because you're not going to go be straight ahead. Straight ahead, you've got nothing. Straight ahead, if you go center line, you got 2. Off center line, you got 1.
Right.
So you would never be approaching that way. Off on the sides, of those 3 out of the 4 Febs are in arc.
Yes.
So it's not like half your weapons can't fire. 1/4 of your weapons won't be able to fire.
That's true.
It's more along the lines of a Tholian, Archaeotholian.
Well, unless you put doubled up on the LFLs and the RFRs.
Right. Well, yeah. That's a possibility. But,
Yeah.
I hate tweaking. I'd have to look at the results of the initial playtest to even contemplate that. Yes, there's a possibility. I see there is a possibility of adding 2 Febs, one left front left, and one right front right. That I see because of the arcs involved.
Keep in mind that I think I added what was the race, the
Empire,
the spider race.
Empire.
What's that? The arachnids.
Empire. You might have to duck.
Empire. Sorry.
Otherwise, the frying pan of death.
What's that? Oh,
from Gene.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. What was the empire that had the? What's that?
Incoming. Duck.
Was it empire or race? I'm supposed to say
Empire.
Empire. I said empire.
I know.
Okay. So what was the empire?
But you originally said race.
The spiders. What's that?
Originally, you said race. That's all. The spiders.
Yes, but empire. What was the
empire? That was the spiders.
The spiders. What was that empire?
Oh my lord, that's a good question. And fine, that's okay. No. Vari?
Vari, that's it.
Yeah,
Vari.
Vari are a species of intelligent arachnids.
So originally their ship came with 5 particle beams. I actually had to add a 6th to make it possible. Now, to give you an idea, if you remember, the particle beam is like a weaker version of the stealth particle cannon.
Right.
It can fire overloaded twice in a turn with an 8 impulse delay. But it's less accurate and does less damage than a Celtorian particle cannon, which is even less powerful than a disruptor. Mm-hmm. So it needed 6. And even then it was kind of like,
Mm-hmm. But definitely,
putting 2 extra FEBs on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one thing that definitely makes this ship interesting, or the Empire itself, is just the way that the arcs are designed. It reminds me more of a Britannia ship overall. You know, where
Right.
you
Yes.
you are
The simulator
required.
race, where
Right.
it was truly.
Thanks, Dave. He's also.
Well, yeah, this is definitely a broadside race,
Mhm.
which actually has some interesting flavor to it.
Oh, agreed. Which is, I think that's one of the things that makes it interesting. You know,
Yeah.
that that's to say the very least when it comes to the Omega Empires. Bruce did his best to introduce a variety of empires with a variety of technologies and different ships designs. You're no longer going along the normal cookie cutter designs that plagued
Oh, absolutely.
a
That's
lot
one
of
of the things I
the
like
alpha.
about it.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if you remember how there were screams about cookie cutterness, especially with the latter R
Oh, yeah.
modules. Jeez, like this empire had heavy war destroyers. Oh, that means everybody has to have heavy water destroyers. It's like, no, they don't. To me, that was always the goofiness
Heck,
things.
The United States has heavy carriers, but nobody else. I think Britain might have one.
Mm-hmm.
France might have one, but nobody else has any.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Chinese have, because I know they got a carrier from the Russians, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
Well, I don't think the Russians have any heavy
Yeah,
carriers.
the Russians aren't really carry crazy like the Americans are.
They're not. Yeah, we are.
Right, but that was one of those things that always I thought was kind of interesting about the Gorns. Got the heavy destroyers. You have your of course your light cruisers, your heavy cruisers, and then got the zinny like medium cruisers, medium war cruisers. You know.
Oh, I know. It was insane.
Well, see, I don't. To be honest, when it comes to that kind of thing, I don't mind that. It's when it was got to the cookie cutterness that okay, we have to be able to have a duel between the two different empires. Like, no, you don't. That was one of those crazy things about the Klingons. That their quote unquote frigate, their F5 frigate, really wasn't a frigate. The F5 frigate was actually more of a destroyer when it comes to BPV. But but you still named it a frigate.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that that drove me crazy with the alphas, and that's one thing that definitely is not the case for the Omega empires, because you could say that these are two cruisers. That's fine. You can call them cruisers all you want. There might not be equal. If they try to fight each other,
right.
One's got a definitive advantage. The whole rock paper scissors thing, where there's no way it's gonna win. Now, if you put it against the frigate or the destroyer of the other empire, you got a fighting chance.
Well, keep in mind that traditionally a cruiser was not designed as a ship that you would throw into a battle. A cruiser was something that was designed for long-range reconnaissance. Now, I guess the armored cruisers were, it was armed reconnaissance. That's what they were.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew you were going to get into, you didn't send them into a battle. You sent your battleships into a battle, or maybe your battle cruisers. But if you had a cruiser actually in a battle, it was oops. Or now destroyers were actually designed for battles, but they were more they weren't designed to. In fact, destroyers in World War II were actually pretty deadly because they had torpedoes, a lot of them. So
Right.
they could a squadron of destroyers could actually have a hope against a battleship, because at long range outside the battleship's guns, they might score a torpedo hit, and torpedoes are devastating.
Oh, understood. Just for people who I haven't been watching the channel, the talk show too much, but Russ has been doing. I can't wait. Actually, he sent me an initial video, and I've neglected in watching it, and I really should, because of some of the things that Russ has done, which is really, really cool stuff. And yeah, I'm not gonna bring it up because it's in my email. But I want to add it into the YouTube channel. I have to look to see what it is. Actually, one thing I'm just bringing up that Russ did is that he's saying he's making the final copy of the first, basically my game against Peter. And one thing I'm actually gonna need to do actually is I gotta stop saying actually. But what I'm gonna need to do is review it and look at it and make sure that it's correct. I feel pretty confident that Russ has got it all correct, but at the same time, there is the possibility that there's some things that need to be tweaked. But overall, what I've seen in the previous things that Russ has done is actually really, really cool. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. And even David says that it's Russ's video is worth it.
Cool. Oh, did you see the big news yesterday?
SpaceX news?
SpaceX. What's that?
SpaceX news?
SpaceX news, yes. I've been talking about their Starship, and they're building Mark 1 at Boca Chica, Texas, Mark 2 at Cape Canaveral. Well, these are prototypes. Mark 3, they've just started construction. Or they're building the components to build construction for Mark 3, Boca Chica. And Mark 4 is about the same progress at Cape Canaveral. So Mark 1 was going to go for a test flight either late this year or first quarter next year. That was the furthest along of these 4 prototypes. And they were pressure testing, I guess, Mark 1 yesterday.
Ego boom.
And they had basically. It didn't, they only had oxidizer in there. They did not have fuel, so it didn't explode or anything. But the top bulkhead shot off and probably went a good 150 meters into the air.
Right. And I heard that they basically said, okay, that was an older design, so they were just going to retire that prototype from use and use one of the newer design prototypes.
Well, they were only planning on ever using it for one flight, and it's like, okay, well, no, not even worth repairing. Right,
exactly. But
yeah,
should be interesting to see them getting into space. SpaceX is really pushing hard.
Absolutely, they are. Yes.
Well, I think with that, Barry, we will wrap this up for this evening. It's been a pleasure talking to you about what Empire do you want to talk about next time?
You had mentioned the Quixta, which is a possibility.
There's
Another one to think
continue.
about was the Sigvirons.
Oh yeah, it is. Actually, one thing I was just thinking of because I saw them when I was scrolling. Which is they looked interesting ship to me. The so hopefully I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Ymatrian?
The what?
It's Ymatrian.
Oh, the Ymitrians?
Yes, Ymatrian, yeah.
Yeah. In some ways, they're kind of like the Warb, but they're smaller ships.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the subspace energy fields, and they don't have the subspace torpedoes, but they have their anti-proton phasers and their anti-proton what was it? Beams and lances are identical to the Warbs. In fact, I think the Warbs stole their technology.
They did.
Yeah.
So you think basically it'd just be a repeat with what we discussed with the Warbs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except I like the Warbs better. That's why I looked at them and went, meh.
Okay, then we can go with Quixa.
Yes, Quixa works. Or the Sigviron, which actually does have a tournament cruiser that I made. But
to
tell you the truth is,
yeah.
But the Quixa could work because the Quixa I haven't looked at enough, but they may actually be viable. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I like to go with the Quixa first.
Okay, we'll do the Quixa next time.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, have a good Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too. See you in 2 weeks, I think.
See you in 2.
Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, had a nice little discussion about the Iridani. It should be interesting if we can create a nice tournament cruiser and test it out. Obviously, one of those things that really makes the Iridani different and unique is the battle tactics involved. Because two critical things. Number one, their weapons don't fire forward. They mostly fire to the sides. So you're never going to be trying to center line it against your opponent. What you're going to be doing is you're trying to get your opponent to your right or your left. And to be honest, I don't think any opponent is going to is going to have a chance when it comes to avoiding that. Now, obviously, it makes things kind of interesting in that those side shields were going to be destroyed pretty quick, but at the same time, you can switch between the two. You go, turning this way versus turning that way, as I described about my battle against Peter last week, or maybe the week before. Possibly both. But anyway. And of course, the other thing, which is the one thing that was noted, which is breakdown. You're not, this. We thought the Gorn was the tug. No. The Gorn has a tug. Yeah, it's turn mode D, just like the Iridani has a turn mode T. But you really can't het. I would love to find out what are the breakdown things. Does the module become unhinged and all of a sudden it's floating in space, and that's one of the reasons why you would not want to even attempt to do a het at all. It's definitely, the ships weren't designed for maneuverability in mind. So and what's the worst case about the ships, of course, as it was mentioned, is there are no seeking weapons. It's got an awful turn mode. The Clipper has some good power. Has no really awful, awful, awful turn mode, and it has no seeking weapons. So it can't make up for it, up for the maneuver problem with maneuverability by using seeking weapons to keep your opponent off guard. Because that was one thing I was able to do with my TKE against the Neotholian. I had seeking weapons. So even though I had a hard time getting around, and I was able to launch torpedoes, and that really, really helped me. And when I finally started to launch them, and since the Iridani doesn't have that ability, that's one of the reasons why we were even discussing the fighters. Because with the fighters, now you have seeking weapons. Now, obviously, as I pointed out, one of the biggest things there is that it's not actually part of the Iridani's DNA. It's not like the Hydrants where fighters are an integral part of every single ship that they made. Almost, except for the smaller ones, like the frigates and so forth. But almost every single ship had a launch tube for fighters. That's the way the Hydrants were designed. That is an inherent design of the ships that made them Hydran. Iridani, for the most part, that's not the case. That's why the fighters can be added as part of a module. Of course, the Iridani are kind of interesting in their empire. They have to be on a quest, and things like that. So, should make things interesting to see if we can actually work on it and maybe even balance it some. I think that'd be kind of cool to do. Obviously, if we can do it without the fighters, that'd be great. You maybe add a couple Febs that might do the job. And again, if we were to add weapons, I think maybe 2 Febs. As the left front left, a right front right. I think that would work. But again, we'd have to see how would it fare. We shouldn't even really be talking about how we're going to adjust the ship before we actually even play test it to see where are the deficiencies. So, with that, I'm going to first wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with your families. If you're inside the United States, outside the United States, have a wonderful Thursday. I will be off. I'll be visiting my own family. My brother just moved into a new place, and we're going to be going to his new place for Thanksgiving, and it should be interesting. I'm not even exactly sure what we're going to be bringing this year. We have to figure out something. And with that, I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night.